WoW Season of Discovery is a new game mode Blizzard is releasing this year for Classic. In this version of WoW, they introduce multiple different things like different abilities and runes, which we'll go over in a second. New specs, if you will, such as Warlock Tank, Shaman Tank, Rogue Tank, Mage Healer, etc. With this game mode, we'll be able to mix and match different abilities and talents from different expansions and different abilities that have never been introduced at all. And with this, we'll be able to make cool builds, or we can make very busted rogue builds that go really hard into DPS or tank. So what is WoW Season of Discovery? So Season of Discovery is a new game mode releasing for a short amount of time. And it basically has new level phases instead of content phases. So the first cap is 25, then 40, then 50, and then 60. There's also new player power called rune engraving in runes. What this does is it basically allows you to enchant a piece of gear with a rune, which gives you abilities or talents to spec into. New class roles are emerging, like I said, Mage Healer, Rogue Tank, Shaman Tank, and Warlock Tank. They're also introducing level up raids, so they're taking old dungeons and they're remaking them into raids you can do at lower levels to get you really good pieces of gear, and also a sort of way to catch up if we have other content phases later down the road. And the first one they're releasing is Black Fathom Deeps. And then in Black Fathom Deeps, they will release new gear and items with really strong stats, and everyone's going to want to go for those. There's also going to be new PvP events in Ashenvale and other areas, and also world buffs that they'll introduce in those raids and in Ashenvale. Now, if you're wondering, you probably already know, but Season of Discovery launches in November 30th, 2023, which is in about a week or two. This will be phase 1 up to level 25 on that cap, and with a limited amount of runes that they've already teased, and there are some that have been data mined. So, speaking of runes, to get a little bit more in depth with them, you find them with discoveries. So discoveries are random quests, chests, little mini games that they're going to make new around the world that you have to complete to get a rune. And these runes, again, will be used to enchant gear and give you stats or abilities or talents, etc. All right, new teased gear that they have shown so far is from the Black Fathom Deeps, and it's right here. Clam Weave Tunic, an Agility Stem Intellect chest piece with armor. They also have Acolyte's Void Pearl, which increases healing done by spells and effects. They have Avenger's Void Pearl, which is like a DPS melee version, and Invoker's Void Pearl, which is a caster version. All these are really freaking strong. They have increased damage and healing by a lot, and on an early level, that's incredible. And then Phantom Blade is a two-handed sword that increases your chance to hit by 1% and does an effect, which is really good. Early levels, hit is king with a lot of melee classes, and you almost can never find them. So these are really, really strong pieces. All right, rune time. This has been, so far, data mined runes we have seen. They have added runes for every single class and a ton of them, but today I think we're only going to focus on rogues because I'm a rogue man. That's what I'm going to be playing, and kind of show you what could be a cool build you can use for rogues, for tank, for DPS, etc. The first rune that they've shown so far in a talent was Mutilate. This is pretty much how it works in Wrath. You attack with both weapons and percent weapon damage, and it increases if you have poison the target. So it's your common point generator for a poison build for assassination. Next is Between the Eyes. This is a retail move. This is a finishing move that causes damage per common point and increased attack power and stuns. So this is basically like a kidney shot at a range. And it's based off your attack power. This is a really good PvP ability, and I can see a lot of rogues using that with subtlety. Blade Dance. This is the main finisher move for tank. You finish a move that increases your parry chance, lasts longer, and grants more parry chance per combo point, right? So up to 10% parry for 30 seconds for 5 combo points. This is basically going to be your bread and butter slice and dice, but for tank. Next, we have Engraved Pants Cuddy Runes. Engrave your pants with Shadow Strike Rune, and this is like again a PvP subtlety talent for retail. You basically teleport behind a target and do an ambush ability, and it generates a combo point, basically like an opener. Next, we have Envenom, which is another Wrath ability. It's a finisher based off your instant poison, and has increased frequency the more common points you spend on that. Main Gauche. This is an ability for tank as well. This will be your main common point generating ability as tank. This awards 1 common point and increases your parry chance for 10%. This could either be used with Sinister Strike and pair to keep your parry chance up every 10 seconds, while Sinister Strike would be your main damaging ability to generate combo points. But next we have Quick Draw. This is basically a common point generating ability that causes, it's a ranged attack, range damage, and it also slows the target for 50%. Another good PvP ability to use. Saber Slash. You do basically a slash of weapon damage. It causes them to bleed, and it goes up based on your attack power. And it benefits from all talents and effects. So any bonus to your bleeds, this benefits from that. And then Shiv, instantly attack your offhand weapon, dealing normal than half damage, applies your offhand poison, and rewards 1 common point. Okay, now that we've been through all the abilities, now it's time to go to a rogue talent calculator, and I'll show you guys some cool builds that I thought of that could be really nice to have at level 25. All right, so for rogue tank, the first build we're going to look at is this. At level 25, you only have up to 16 talent points available because you only have 16 levels. And here's something I thought it could be a really decent and probably generic build you're going to be running when you hit 25. So of course you want to improve Sinister Strike because that'll be your main source of damage, and you need to still do damage to keep threat. You will have lightning reflexes, increase your dodge chance by 5%. Of course, this is just flat 5% dodge. You're going to want it as a tank. Deflection, increase your parry chance by 5%. Another basic 5% chance to parry. It's really good for tank. Not much to say about that. Precision. The reason why I went precision over endurance is because early game hit is king. You have almost no hit weapons, no hit armor pieces you can obtain. So this will be a really easy and good way to get hit early on. And you want to build into riposte. Now, this is really good because when you parry, you have a proc for riposte, and you can do 150% weapon damage. This is a very, very, very good proc damage you can put out. And if you build the right way, you'll have a ton of parry, and you'll be proccing this all the time. To add on to that, just a flesh rune. This will be your first major rune that you want for tank. What this does is it gives you 20% reduced physical damage in general when Blade Dance is active. This is another rune you can apply later. You'll have 6% reduced chance to be critically hit by melee attacks, and all your moves generate a threat and is massively increased. Your feint ability now is a taunt. Feint turns into tease. That's the taunt ability. Next one you're going to want is Blade Dance on your legs. This is a finishing move that increases your parry chance by 10% if you have on a 5 common points. And this coincides with just a flesh rune. When you have that active, you take 6% reduced critical hits. And then more parry on that, you also get more riposte procs, which is again a very, very strong proc you can just hit out whenever you need to. Now, Main Gouge, I think, would probably be your last ability to get. This is just a filler ability to have more % chance to parry, and it won't be as strong as Sinister Strike in terms of damage, but it's just something to upkeep for more parry. So once you have all of these three, you basically will be sitting around 25% parry outside of gear and about 5% dodge with 3% extra hit off talents. This is probably, again, your best bet for your basic generic talents that you want going into Season of Discovery at level 25. All right, the next build that I have sort of thought about and looked at is a Poison Assassination build. This is very similar to Wrath of the Lich King Assassination Rogue, but really heavily goes on the poison side of it versus the weapon damage side of it. So here we have obviously only 16 talents again to use for assassination. So we build into 5 into malice, just flat crit chance. You want to build improved slice and dice because that makes your weapons attack faster, which makes you apply poisons faster. Next, we want ruthlessness. When you use a finishing move, you want to be able to keep getting energy back and a common points back to keep applying envenoms. The strikes, your finishing moves have a 20% chance per combo point to restore 25 energy. Pretty much every time you use a 5 combo point in Venom, you'll restore 25 energy, which is very, very strong. And then next, we build only 3 points into lethality because we want to build 1 into vile poisons. Now, the reason we want to do this is because we want to at least lock 1 vile poisons or improved poisons. I think vile poison is better because with 2 fast weapons with Sinister Strike, we're going to be applying poisons so fast that we don't really care too much about improved poisons just yet. Now, you might be saying, oh, okay, but what about deadly poison? You want that to apply. If that's going to be on your offhand, it's going to apply, or your man hand's going to apply less. So how are you going to do that? So with the rune abilities, we get something called Deadly Brew. Anytime you inflict any other poison on a target, you also inflict deadly poison. So if I'm correct, again, I haven't tested this because it's not out yet, but you can double instant poison on your weapons, and you can just full pump with double instant poison while getting deadly poison stacks automatically with Deadly Brew. You'll be using this, you'll be applying poisons, and your combo point generating ability will again be Mutilate. This rewards 2 combo points. It does 20% increased damage based on the poisons applied to the target. So while you're hitting with instant poison, you'll have your deadly poison also being stacked up. Once that's stacked up, you can start using envenoms. And after you envenom, you have a 75% increased frequency to apply instant poison. So that's why I think improved poison isn't as important, because you have envenom now. That applies poisons way faster, and it won't be as important. I think building into vile poisons first will be your priority here. So this, again, a basic DPS assassination poison build you can try out if you want to. I think this will also be very smooth, and it helps just with, I will say this is terrible for AoE. You're not gonna have good AoE, but single target, you'll be a fucking monster. All right, for all you PvP fanatics out there, this subtlety build is what I think will be really strong for when you want a PvP. The first obvious one is Opportunity. This just increases your damage dealt when striking behind your target with backstab, grow, ambush abilities by 20%. Obviously, the easiest, flat, best thing you can do. Second is Elusiveness. We want this so we can have reduced vanish. In a fight, you're able to use that more often. Third, we're just building 3 points into Camouflage just to get to the next step. Next, I think, is Ghostly Strike. This is a very, very strong ability you can use to increase your dodge in PvP, and does a lot of damage, and it's just a good strike to use. Next, Improved Ambush. You want this so your ambush ability hits harder. And next, we want Initiative. This is basically makes it so you can get an additional combo point when you use Ambush, Garrote, or Cheap Shot, just to keep those damage numbers rolling. Next, what we have is Quick Draw. This, I think, is a very, very strong PvP ability because it's a slow that you can use from range. So when you're fighting a melee unit that's busting your ass, really strong ability to use against them. Shadow Strike, again, a really, really good opener, or you can use this with Vanish into Shadow Strike if you need to get to a target quickly and do a lot of damage. Next, Between the Eyes. This will probably be your replacement for Kidney Shot. It does damage and stuns just like Kidney Shot, and is from range. So you basically have a stronger Kidney Shot that you can use from ranged, and it's very, very strong. Overall, this has really good synergies with getting behind your target, hitting them hard, hitting them fast, and fucking up your guy in a one-shot macro pretty much. This won't be as strong until later because you can get stuff such as Preparation, Premeditation, and Hemorrhage. Obviously, these are really strong abilities you want for later use, but for 16 talent points, this is probably your best bet going forward. That's all I really have for you guys today. If you guys enjoy the video, like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Peace.